The Senate has refused to grant confirmation to the nomination of Ibrahim Magu as chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the EFCC. The reason it gave is simple. Mr. Magu is not fit to be chairman of the body, based on the security report available to it. The Senate immediately sent back Magu's nomination letter to Mr. President Muhammadu Buhari. Has this developed a dealt blow on the government's anti-corruption war? Is this in favor of the presidency or the Senate? Is the track record of the EFCC interim boss on public trial? What will be the president's reaction to this? Is there more than meets the eye? The Senate president went ahead to welcome and swore in 3 lawmakers, though, from Rivers State, Senator Magu, George Sekibo, and Osi Nachuku Idiozo, who emerged winners in the highly contested and violent senatorial election. Data feeds are still coming through in one place simultaneously on all our social media platforms, channelstv.com and youtube.com/channelsweb. You can follow us right now on m.channelstv.com. We've got all our platforms and social media covered. We're right now live on Facebook to receive an instant notification on our live shows, just like our page, and be part of the show. Tweet at Gimba Umar CTV. Use the hashtag State of the Nation to air your thoughts on the subject. In the meantime, the just concluded legislative rerun elections in Rivers State is generating more reactions from its outcome. The governor, Nyesom Wike, led supporters and leaders of the People's Democratic Party, as well as some members of the State Executive Council, to the police headquarters in Rivers State. The protesters demanded the redeployment of 2 officers who they claim masterminded the violence and electoral malpractice that took place in the polls. Now, they've also stormed the streets of Port Harcourt, protesting that the police interfered in the electioneering process. Is there more to come, or does this mark the end of protests in one of the most volatile states when it comes to election matters? The federal government has cut provision for the joint venture cash calls ahead of its January 2017 date, as the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, the NNPC, and the international oil companies, the IOC, signed an agreement to exit the joint venture cash call agreement, ending the NNPC's counterpart funding for 60% equity shareholding it owns in various oil and gas fields and international and indigenous oil firms. The Minister of State for Petroleum, Dr. Agbaka, announced a governance process will be set up with immediate effect to manage a new funding mechanism that would provide the cost recovery system. Will this have an impact on the lives of the people of Nigeria, considering the 18,000 naira minimum wage for public servants? What does it mean to them? Now, some lawmakers have disagreed over the president's 7.298 trillion naira 2017 budget of recovery and growth presented to the National Assembly. Concerns of funding of the proposed budget and its focus has been raised by some of the lawmakers. The 2017 figures has an increase of 20.4% over the 2016 figure. It's based on a crude oil benchmark price of $42.50 per barrel, with an output of 2.2 million barrels per day. The government plans to finance a deficit 3.63 trillion naira by borrowing a chunk 2.23 trillion naira. What are your thoughts on the subject? Tweet at Gimba Umar CTV and use the hashtag State of the Nation. It's prime time in Lagos. The program starts now. Welcome everyone in Nigeria and the rest of the world. I am Gimba Umar and this is State of the Nation. We begin with the biggest story yet for the week, where the Nigerian Senate has refused to grant confirmation to the nomination of Ibrahim Magu as the chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the EFCC, explaining the reasons behind the decision. The Senate said that the security report available to it showed that Mr. Magu is not fit to be chairman of the body. Let's take a listen to what the Senate has concluded.
The Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria wish to inform the general public that based on security reports available to the Senate cannot proceed and confirm the nomination of Ibrahim Magu Mustafa as the executive chairman of EFCC. Accordingly, the Senate hereby rejects the said nomination and has returned the said nomination to Mr. President for further action.
That was, of course, the spokesperson of the Senate. And a legal practitioner, that will be Agbaka, joins me on State of the Nation now for an aerial perspective of the situation. Many thanks indeed for coming on the show at this time. What are your first thoughts when you heard what the Senate said? As a matter of fact, they said this just yesterday. And it has refused to confirm Ibrahim Magu. What are your thoughts?
Well, first, I would say I received that information with rude shock because of the timing. This is a very crucial point that we have set up what we look at as a serious machinery towards fighting corruption. But unfortunately, this is a drawback, but we must move forward. EFCC is an institution. It is not a personal thing. So I think the proper thing we will do now is to ensure that we strengthen the organization and not individuals, so that we don't build any organization around an individual where we're going to have problem. And you see the reasons which the Senate gave as one of the reasons, or the various reasons why they could not confirm the appointment of Mr. Ibrahim Magu. They are profound issues. One, they said that he lives above his income. He lives a flamboyant life. He lives in a house where he pays 20 million per annum, and he paid upfront 40 million. And then 43 million was equally set out to furnish the house. These monies did not come from EFCC. It would have been a different thing if the commission had financed it. The question will now be that it is the money that came from the commission. Now, you put out his salary, he's a public officer, and then just oppose it with what you use in paying. Then the question that is begging for an answer is, how did this money come by? Now, there is equally an allegation that he flies a private jet belonging to his friend. Nobody is saying that somebody will not be your friend. But let me hasten to say that if your friend has a soiled hand and is under the searchlight of investigation, at that point, prudence, sense demands that you cut off that your friend.
But some have said that these are all purely sentimental. How do you react to that?
Fine. If there are accusations without facts, then it becomes sentimental. Though some people will say, if you have these facts, why did you not report him to the appropriate authority, possible ICPC, for the purposes of investigation?
So how does this affect Mr. President's campaign of anti-corruption drive? Wasn't this revealed to the President? Because there are some investigations that have revealed and shown records from the Police Service Commission that Magu was guilty of actions prejudicial to state security, including withholding of EFCC files and sabotage, and was awarded several reprimands.
Yes. Sometime in 2008, he was arrested, investigated, reprimanded, suspended before he was recalled back.
Why was he called back? Was he free? Were those baseless?
The word reprimand, in their own narrow parochial way, connotes punishment, because there is no clear provision of any law that says when somebody has been found guilty, the proper thing will be to reprimand him. The proper thing will be to sanction him, and the sanction must be a sanction that is written in law, not reprimand. But the point is that the reprimand, which is the punishment meted to him for whatever offense they found him guilty of, he didn't appeal against it.